Good morning. My name is Bill Aliber, and tempting as it might be for the treasurer on the Sunday we kick off Stewardship, for me to talk about debits and credits and the many fascinating aspects of the church's budget, I'm not going to do that this morning. Instead, I'm going to share a bit of my personal history as it relates to St. Andrews. At the end of that, you might actually be wishing for the budget discussion. My family history with the Episcopal Church in St. Andrews is probably like many of yours. Both Kim and I grew up in Episcopal households, Kim here in Kansas City, me in Birmingham, Michigan. Kim was baptized and confirmed here. A little over 30 years ago, we were married here. All four of our kids were baptized and confirmed at St. Andrews. And just last year, our oldest boy, Tommy, was married here. I'm in the third year as being the treasurer, and also the third year I'm being on the vestry. An interesting side note, my soon-to-be 91-year-old mother has always hoped and wished that I would be an Episcopal minister. My friend's reaction, like yours, is to laugh. I think John's reaction to that possibility is probably more shock and horror. But despite all those connections to St. Andrews and the larger Episcopal Church, and maybe also like many of you, life got in the way of regular attendance and involvement, at least for me. Whether it was raising kids, being too busy, maybe too tired on Sunday to rally the troops, endless weekend activities, or in my case, a sick dad out of town that burned up a lot of weekends, our attendance, or at least my attendance, was a little spotty. However, about 8 years ago, all that changed. I'm still not really sure what the trigger was. Things were good at home, at work, with the family. I was certainly not having a midlife crisis, but clearly I was looking for something. Cleverly, I didn't solve that by growing out my hair into a man bun or buying a fancy new car or start taking yoga or worse, getting a girlfriend. Instead, I decided to come here. And like all great decisions in our family, that was one that was made by my wife, Kim. Perhaps she had the insight to know that what I was looking for could be found within these walls inside this community, inside the words of the liturgy, or perhaps she just wanted me out of the house for a couple hours on Sunday. But in any event, I made the commitment to push open that red door, and I really have never looked back. I think I can count on no more than two hands the number of Sundays over the last 8 or 9 years that I've missed, even if that's required going to church outside of Kansas City. The Google has sent me to some really interesting Episcopal churches around the country and abroad in our travels. Coming here more regularly got me on Father John's radar screen. That led to a series of lunches, some Friday afternoon beers, a couple of shared bottles of wine, and the development of a most unexpected friendship. That interaction led to being asked to serve as the treasurer, and before I knew it, being on the vestry, and as a result of that, a whole host of other activities and involvement at the church. I can honestly say that Sunday morning at 8 to 9, the service that I come to has become the most important hour of the week for me. It's the proverbial reset button. Back to center, cleanse the palate. While John and Ann and Jeff and Bruce and Dr. Tom, through their words and their music, bring life to St. Andrews every Sunday, I would be lying if I said each weekend the service, the sermon, the music meant as much to me. Sometimes it's just the quiet, the reflection, an opportunity not to answer an email. Being here regularly also opened my eyes to the incredible people who work here and who call this place home. I think the staff at St. Andrews is simply amazing. Being the treasurer and being on the vestry has provided me a window to the operations of this place. And while sometimes I think my head will pop off due to the unique aspects of church business, the level of dedication, the hours, the caring, and the commitment that John and his staff provide every week is amazing. Equally amazing is the generosity and the commitment that our parish gives, all of you. Charlie Horner told me he thinks it's an 8x multiplier for every dollar that's given. And while I don't know if I can prove that mathematically, I know the giving of time and talent and treasure by all of you is unbelievable. I was not a big fan of the Shrek movies, although I saw them all because I have 4 kids. But there was a line in one of them that I liked that kind of stuck with me, and it was something like, ogres are like onions, they have layers. And I think that somewhat relates to how my experience at St. Andrews has progressed. Sunday by Sunday, sermon by sermon, brick by brick, layer by layer, I feel my mind and my heart and my soul opening up to what we do here. I find myself opening more doors, taking our message to unexpected places, having conversations with others on topics that I could never have imagined myself doing. My relationship with my family, my friends, colleagues has changed. St. Andrews has changed my life, all for the better. For all of the above, Kim and I have made the decision that St. Andrews would be the place that we target the majority of our annual giving. I think because I'm a finance guy, I'm an ROI kind of guy, and I think the return on investment here is one of the best deals you can sign up for. Doc Worley told me one time when he was delivering my paper in the morning that it's a pretty good deal that God is offering. You get to keep 90+% of what he gives you. In the world in which I work on, that's about as good a deal as you can possibly get. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for everything you do at St. Andrews.